What's up, math scholars and math haters? This is Mr. W. Today we're going to tackle question 16 in the 7th grade math questions that North Carolina released this past school year. Now, you can't see it on the paper, but from this point forward, questions 16 to 45 of these released items, we're going to be able to use a calculator. Thank goodness, because some of the calculator inactive questions were getting insane, to be honest. So, we can see that this question tells us that the angles in this diagram are complementary. We'll talk about what that means, and we're just supposed to figure out, knowing that these two angles are complementary, this one is 4x, whatever that is, and this one is 2x plus 6, whatever that is. All we have to do is find the value of x. This is going to require using a couple tricks that we haven't had to deal with before in these release questions. So we're going to need to know how to work with complementary angles and also how to simplify one side of a two-step equation as part of solving it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on all of this. First things first, what on earth does complementary mean? Simple definition, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. And we can kind of see that this looks a bit like something you could draw one of those boxes in that tells you it's a right angle. It doesn't draw the box for us here, it just gives us the word complementary because it's expecting us to know what that means, but now we know that they just equal 90 degrees. So now I have to actually set up an equation with this information that I have. I will go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this angle here, 4x, we don't know what x is yet. We know that this expression is 4x, and we're adding this bit here, 2x plus 6, and we know that all of that equals 90. So now that we've taken this information and the fact that the two angles are complementary, and we've translated all that into an equation, now's when we get to that second bullet point that I had where we had to simplify and use properties of simplifying expressions to solve an equation. So fact is, if I cover all this stuff up, I can treat 4x plus 2x plus 6 like it's its own thing, like it's its own expression, and do what I need to with it to make the problem look like it's a little easier to solve. Same thing for the right side of equation, or same thing for the right side of this equation. I'm not going to need to do anything with 90, but I am going to need to do something here, and that's look at 4x plus 2x. Think of this as $4 plus $2. If I have $4 in one hand and $2 in the other hand, how much money do I have? $6. And now I had plus 6 here. I didn't need to do anything to that. So now here's our equation. 6 times some number plus 6 equals 90. And it's at this point, and let me go ahead and erase this, that the fact family tricks that we've been using before are not going to serve us very well because this is a two-step equation. Now to solve a two-step equation, the analogy that I really like to use is that if you get home at the end of school, when you take off your shoes and your socks, what order are you going to take them off in? Well, you have to get rid of what's outside first, and then you can get rid of what's inside. So here, we have 6x, so I'm thinking of the 6 that's being multiplied by x as like my socks. And then my plus 6, I'm thinking of like my shoes, because it's further away from my variable. So we actually need to get rid of plus 6 by subtracting 6. So plus 6 and minus 6, the reason we picked minus 6 is because plus 6 and minus 6 give us 0, which is the same thing in math language as nothing, so they go away. These now become nothing. And now 90 minus 6, I can use my calculator or do this in my head or whatever. This gets me 84. I can rewrite 6x down here because I didn't touch it, I left it alone. Anything I leave alone in an equation like this, I just need to rewrite when I write the next form of my equation, the next step. And now, I can take off my socks. I can get rid of this 6. Now, this is kind of like 6 times x. 6x and 6 times x are two ways of saying the same thing. So to get rid of times, I need to do the opposite of times, which is divide. So I'll write dividing as a fraction and do 6 divided by 6. And then over here, 84 divided by 6. 6 divided by 6 is going to just give us 1. But if I say 1x, I don't even need to write the 1 down, so this just gives me x equals whatever 84 divided by 6 gives me. And now I'm definitely going to pull out my calculator and try to figure out 84 divided by 6, and that gives me 14. So after all that work, this is my answer. X equals 14. And at this point, I'm going to scoot this back and fill this in my gridded response section. 14 takes up 2 spaces because I have a tens digit and a ones digit. I find my 1 bubble under the spot where I've written 1 and bubble it in. I find my 4 bubble under where I've written 4 and bubble that in. So 14 is my answer, and this is how I would write it in a gridded response section.